thatmovieguyUK.
The Netflix train never stops at Venice, and the next big medieval film from said studio is David Michôd's The King. Obviously, I had a lot of hesitancy going into this film purely for the reason that I think that tackling William Shakespeare in general is a very difficult thing to do. But when you have somebody like Joel Edgerton, who I think is a very good actor and is well known for his Shakespearean roles and performances, I was a bit more content going into this. And should I be scared? Of course I'm going to be scared, but it's okay. But what I think that intrigued me the most going into this was Timothee Chalamet playing Henry V. With Chalamet, I do believe he is a very promising young actor. This guy is only 23 years old and he is getting a lot of buzz about him. He obviously got nominated for Beautiful Boy. We talk about Call Me By Your Name, and obviously now he'll be going into Little Women very soon. It's all going well for him, and we're here to talk about it. The King follows the story of how a wayward prince and the heir to the English throne. He is crowned King Henry V after his tyrannical father dies. Now the young king must navigate palace politics, the war his father left behind, and the emotional strings of his past life. I think that David Michôd created and crafted a very interesting looking film. I do like the way the compositions of natural light is used throughout the whole process of it. I think that the battle scenes themselves, particularly the Battle of Agincourt, is very well executed, and I enjoy the authenticity of the film. When it comes to the actual performance, and the main performance that we're here to talk about is Timothée Chalamet as Henry V, I do have some reservations still, because I do think that this is a very big role for any actor. And in all honesty, I did really like Chalamet as Henry V. I think that there's a very strong rounded story for him. There's a very good arc, obviously within the context of even Shakespeare's story. He builds on it. You see this young, naive drunkard of a boy, and then he eventually becomes a man. And I think, all in all, I have no complaints about what he has. But I do think that if you'd have given him maybe 4-5 more years, I think that would have been a perfect performance. And I wasn't exactly sold. I think the one point that I noticed that this wasn't really working for me with Chalamet was his battle speech. There was no tenacity, there was no fire, there was no power, there was no oomph to it. I just didn't like it. The vast disappointment of The King is its duration. For a 2-hour and 20-minute film, it drags. There is no real flame or spark that carries the first half of this film. Once we go into the second half, I really enjoyed it a lot more. You got more perspective of what was going on. And I do think that The King could have probably been cut by maybe 15 odd minutes, just to save us the grief. I think the problem within the actual arc itself is that there's no real discussion about the heresy that is going on behind his back, and there's only one formal scene at the back end of the film that discusses this. There's so much planning, there's so much conniving elements to the story that could have been done, but there was just so much more focus on the actual development of Henry that we forget about the whole side plots, and I just didn't enjoy that element of it. When it comes to the rest of the cast, I must say the two standout performances are obviously Joel Edgerton and Sir John Falstaff. I loved his northern accent. Obviously I'm used to seeing Falstaff as a lot more of a guttier guy, but I think Edgerton plays it very well. You could tell that he really wanted to play this role, and the only thing that's strange about it is that you kind of forget the friendship that him and Hal have, and at times it just doesn't spark through. But I think Edgerton does the best to what he can. But the standout for me, and this does not come as a shock to many of you, but Robert Pattinson as the Dauphin, I loved it. every pantomime character villain should be emulating this performance. I think that Pattinson turned up on the day and decided to go full wacko on this character, and I adored it. There is one line that I won't spoil it just yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a freaking meme once it comes out. I adored it. I think he plays the best to what he does in a very small cameo role, and yeah, I will never forget those long blonde locks and very interesting French dialect. All in all, The King isn't necessarily the film I wanted it to be, but I do admire what David Michôd, Timothée Chalamet tried to create, and obviously Joel Edgerton's input to it as well gives it a bit more gravitas, but the longevity of the film really does carry the burden, and the lack of side plot and just straight narrative just makes it another generic type of piece. The King will be available on Netflix over the winter period, and more screenings are available. It'll be at LFF, I believe, so check it out if you just want to see Timothée Chalamet become the man that he is going to become one day, or just go and see Robert Pattinson being a very interesting dauphin. Anyway, so if you want to catch up on anything from Venice or anything film related, all my information is down here. Subscribe if you want. I am enjoying having a few more subscribers to this channel. Thank you very much for the views. And obviously, as we say on this channel, Diolch, danke, obrigado, merci beaucoup, arigato, dankeschön, bisschen, all the shit. And obviously, never change.